Hey everybody, what is going on? Welcome to Regular Josh 1. Before we start this video, please make sure to hit that like button in this video, and if you're new, subscribe. I am very close to reaching 5,000 subscribers, and hopefully I'll be able to reach that goal before the end of this month. And if not, I can definitely try to score for before the end of March, which would probably definitely be possible if anything else, but help me try to get to 5,000 subscribers. That would be freaking awesome. Also, just want to remind you guys that my audio drama / comedy podcast, which is Starfleet 86, now it's been renamed to Novafleet 86. The first episode came out on Friday, so you guys can definitely check that out on Spotify, Apple Podcast, Anchor, almost anywhere that you can find most podcasts and everything like that. So definitely go ahead and check that out. It would be awesome if you guys definitely checked out the first episode. I would definitely really appreciate that. So now, let's go ahead and get into the meat of this video, ladies and gentlemen. So I wasn't necessarily planning on making another Kamp Koral based video. I wasn't going to do it until Kamp Koral was to be released, which is going to be released on March 4th on Paramount+. I'm going to be doing a cartoon review of that show, maybe a little after its release, or maybe a week after its release. I'm not 100% sure what the timeline is going to be for me doing that, but definitely look out for that. But since there has been some recent interesting news that came out surrounding Kamp Koral, I felt the need to, of course, kind of talk about it, or at the very least talk about my feelings about the whole situation. On Twitter, somebody asked Vincent Waller, who is one of the co-workers, or one of the workers of the Spongebob cartoon, and he's been a very close friend of Stefan Hillenburg, known them for years, of course. He actually asked if Stefan Hillenburg made Kamp Koral before he died. And he actually did post a couple of tweets. He posted one replying to the person that asked this question, and then a day later he also kind of, I guess, reassured a couple of things as well. So I'm gonna be reading these tweets right now. Vincent Waller responded to that by saying Steve was aware it was being developed. Sadly, he did not get to see it completed. I think it would have made him smile. And then a day later, he says, when I said that last night, I was feeling it was right, but full disclosure, that time period has so much traumatic scar tissue for me. I had lost 2 friends to death in a short, and it has kinked up my chronological memories of events into a bit of a slippery jumble for that entire block of time. I think everyone should wait and see the episodes before they decide. Steve specifically left us in charge and trusted us to guard his creation to the best of our ability. I do feel that Steve would love the Kamp Koral episodes. We spent many years in animatic rooms learning what made him laugh. That has basically, in some ways, confirmed that Steve did at least know that Kamp Koral was being developed, or he did know about Kamp Koral while it was being developed. Now, I did talk about this just a little bit in my earlier video when I was talking about Kamp Koral and Sponge on the Run being on CBS All Access, and which is now being rebranded to Paramount+. I did talk a little bit about how I thought maybe Steve would have possibly known about Kamp Koral when it came to the whole controversy, right? When people were talking about how this was definitely disrespecting Steve's wishes, on how he didn't want any spin-offs, or he would have hated the idea of spin-offs and all that other kind of stuff. If anything, I actually found like some interviews where he did kind of seem indifferent on the idea of spin-offs, or at the very least of spin-off shows based on other characters besides SpongeBob. And again, mind you, this was when I found those interviews, those were definitely within the early years of when SpongeBob was on television. He didn't necessarily say this stuff, or I couldn't find any interviews of him saying this stuff like in 2010 or in 2015, or it was like, again, probably around 2004, maybe 2006 or something like that. If he were to have said that he didn't want spin-offs in the early years of SpongeBob, over time, it was definitely possible that he could have changed his mind and probably was less indifferent of a SpongeBob spin-off happening. Shows take a very long time to develop. Like, they didn't just come up with the idea, sprung out of nowhere, and just announce it. Like, it was in development stages for a very long time. Also, not only just that, but when you take in account of the movie, originally when it came to the third SpongeBob movie, it was going to, you know, essentially be about SpongeBob's underyears in a way. The whole segment with Kamp Koral, that was going to be in the third movie either way. So, and he was still alive during the time when the third movie was being developed. So when you really think about it, there kind of wasn't necessarily a way that he would not have known about Kamp Koral being a thing at all. Wouldn't have been possible that they would have still have to have possibly have gotten his approval as well for them to even be able to do this. I mean, maybe not. I'm not 100% sure. That's kind of like a theory that I'm putting out there, but I mean, it could have been possible that he gave them the thumbs up. And you know, there were like certain things when I kind of like really thought about it, like I was trying to like make certain connections or what have you, and just certain things like that just kind of made sense, where it was like Steve definitely were to have to have known about this before he died. This does beg the question as to why it took so long for Vincent Waller, or possibly anyone else within the development crew of the show, to really say anything. I mean, there have been people who have tried to defend the cartoon, saying that Steven Hillenburg was fine with it and everything like that. But why it took Vincent Waller a while to really come out and say that he knew about the show while it was in development stages, who knows why it took a long time. I doubt it had to do anything about contracts or what have you, but maybe it was because there was so much backlash surrounding it anyway, that even if he were to have said something, gone over well with a lot of people, because so many fans of SpongeBob were just incredibly angry about Kamp Koral being a thing. Because again, they were saying things like how it was disrespecting Steven Hillenburg's wishes and all that other stuff. If it was incredibly true that this was disrespecting the wishes of Steven Hillenburg, wouldn't you think that, say, the people who also voice act these characters, they wouldn't want to participate in this project if it was really disrespecting Steven Hillenburg's wishes? Or even the people who worked on the previous cartoon, the original cartoon, and who are currently working on Kamp Koral right now, don't you think they would have possibly said something against this, or would have refused to work on a show like this as well? At the very least, that's kind of things that I'm thinking about, where it kind of leads me to believe that he was definitely okay with it. And, you know, I mean, that's all I'm saying, especially if it's coming from people who knew him, especially for a long time, who've worked with him, who were friends with him and everything like that. I take their word for it at the very least. I'm glad at the very least that we do have a little bit of disclosure. Hopefully we might get a little bit more disclosure along the way. That's definitely very possible. I do know that when it comes to it, there has been certain people who have definitely calmed down in terms of being angry that Kamp Koral exists, and, you know, now are kind of like, okay, so if he knew about this, then maybe this isn't really so bad. We can all now kind of lay this controversy thing to rest and just let it be and what have you. I don't know how the show's going to be. It could definitely be bad, or it could be okay, and it might be very good. We have no idea. But if anything, knowing that the people who worked with Steven Hillenburg for a long time has worked on the show, I probably do have trust in them that they're going to make the show as good as they possibly can, or they have made the show as good as they possibly can, and hopefully it does still feel like it has the spirit of the original cartoon. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. What are your thoughts on this entire debacle when it comes to Kamp Koral and Steven Hillenburg, knowing that the show was in development? What do you guys think? I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, hit that like button, subscribe for more content, and hit the bell to be notified of my next video. And again, ladies and gentlemen, go ahead and check out Novafleet 86 down in the description box down below. Again, you can find it on Spotify, Anchor, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, almost anywhere you can really find any of your podcasts. So just look for Novafleet 86, and the next episode will be released within 2 weeks from now. Thank you guys so much for watching, and remember, you're hearing it from a regular bunny in a regular world. See you next time. Baby.